2050. Everything we do as a company, and the world is going to get hotter. Just this July, in Dubai, the temperature reached 50.8 degrees Celsius. It does not melt anyone standing out in the sun. And that's why the climate crisis is real. And we want to make this happen. The challenge is, governments are not always well suited to move. And we believe the process of saving the world has to be a process that involves everyone. We have to democratize the process by enabling small startups which are nimble to find quick solutions to benefit the world. But startups have their own challenges in funding, scalability, access to resources, and all this amidst an uncertain regulation climate. And so today we assembled a panel here to really discuss the options of how ESG startups can really make it and make solutions that benefit all of us. So let me introduce the panel with a little bit more detail. So Victor is the founder of, Dr. Victor today is the founder of Global Catalyst Advisory, which advises government, policymakers, NGOs, which are founded based on the triple P concept of people, planet, and profit. He is also Group CEO of RHT Consulting Asia, which helps businesses through venture studio, capital raising, internationalization, public listing, and wealth management. Their successes include the Air Carbon Exchange, as well as the Singapore Digital Asset Exchange. Victor was also the chairman of the United Nations Global Compact and which focuses on 17 SDGs. And he was also with the Singapore government focusing on foreign direct investments, growing local companies, and helping them. Victor has won the most influential sustainable business CEO in ASEAN 2023, Financial Excellence Leadership Award in 2022, and the Green Asia Leadership Award in both the Age Interest and Innovation categories. He is also Regional Managing Director of Star Investment Bank. So that's Victor. Joe Harris, he is the Southeast Asian Managing Partner at Think and Grow, with over 12 years of experience resolving key operational challenges and driving sustainable growth for startups. His key role in developing Singapore's startup ecosystem earned him the moniker King of Startup Headhunting in Impact. He is also founder of the Chief of Staff Society of Singapore, an exclusive community of over 60 of the most influential minds in strategy, operations, and partnerships. Joe is deeply connected in the C, founder, and venture sectors given his 9+ years in Asia. His passion in business is to empower founders of ESG companies to remain sustainable, scale internationally, and save the world in the process. David Shen, he is the founder and CEO of EveryCake, a Singapore-based agri-fintech startup that addresses the financing gap in the rice sector for smallholder farmers. With 15 years in the rice industry, David is a sought-after speaker at food security conferences. David has had substantial conversations with rice farmers regionally and recently authored a paper with the Monetary Authority of Singapore on financing the transition to sustainable agriculture. David is also a national fencer and was Secretary General of Fencing Singapore. David. Our final speaker on the panel, Eduardo Ahumada Teo. He is a professor of engineering, management, and human factors at the Autonomous University of Baja California. He has been involved in the research and development in the biotechnology, agriculture, energy, services, and retail sectors, where he worked on the development of corporate social responsibility initiatives and technology-based competitiveness development. He has also worked with the Mexican government in proposing public policy for the creation of ecosystems of innovation and systemic competitiveness in the Tijuana, San Diego binational region on the border of Mexico with the US. Here we are. The flight around Dubai was not too difficult. Okay, by the way, there's 2 months left, so at any point you take months. So for all this benefit, what we will do is I'll take questions. Any of the panelists take up the mic, but try to limit the responses to within 3 minutes because ESG is a huge topic and there's a lot we need to cover. All good? All right, so let's start with the first question. Is ESG just a label? Yeah, cool.
Right. Good morning, everyone. And here it is. I think if you look at ESG, it's in the label. Can I just have a survey around the people here? How many of you are ESG company? How many of you will see yourself as an ESG company? One. Okay, some, high, not much. How many of you are financial company? How many of you are academics? Okay, all right, okay. And so in here, I think we see we have more academics and when it comes to ESG, I realize that many of you will say, am I ESG company? There is a question mark there. You're probably wondering, what does ESG in the label definition? So we see where the ESG first came about. ESG first came about in 2004. And United Nations basically in its publication, Who Cares Greens actually talk about it, and it become formalized as a definition. In 2006, we saw UK actually put in the Company Act, and in there, they actually would put the standards to the definition of governance, the chief. But E, environmental and sustainability or social, in this aspect, it remains an aspirational or encouraging, which means there's no particularly standards in there, but nonetheless, up to many to disclose what they do for environmental or social. It's not mandatory, but governance yet. Fast forward, I think, to 2019, we see for those with financial companies, we probably have something called sustainable financial disclosure regulations as the RG. And in this case, in the disclosure, you need to actually adhere and highlight what are your type of sustainable financing that you go into. So is that a problem? I think given that ESG as a connotation is into ethical investment and very much about corporate social responsibility. It's encouraging. 20 years ago that we started in there, it wasn't about climate change. I think fast forward to just the last 2 years, we saw SEC of US basically clamping down on numerous banking or financial products. They realized that a lot of their ESG declaration versus what has been actually stipulated were quite different. And so has Germany and many other countries. And we saw Morningstar. Morningstar is a financial rating agency. Actually highlight that perhaps we should remove all the ESG rating from some 1,500 financial products. And in there, basically, they highlighted that there's almost 1 trillion in the financial, because part of them, or most of them, are actually not quite related. So what is the problem? And I guess likely is that definition that it first came out with, ESG, is actually aspirational and encouraging. Maybe in terms of the standard definition, it's not standardized because the E and F has not been. And I guess on the third part, which we laid out with our people, financial actually, where financial asset managers tend to maximize financial return and not necessarily on environmental return. And this is something that later on we can discuss. And is this something ironical or paradoxical? That's something that we can explore further.
Yeah, sure. So first question, is ESG a label? So the way I kind of put it is it's sort of a buzzword, right? I think you think back to when blockchain was first kind of a thing, and every company all of a sudden became a blockchain company, or blockchain this, blockchain that. People were using it, but they didn't really know what it meant. They're using it incorrectly. So I feel like a lot of companies are sort of in the same place with ESG. They sort of put it somewhere on the website and think, okay, check mark. I am socially aware of my impact, and I'm doing my part at getting a net zero. So it's with any buzzword, right? You kind of get it from just being buzzy to actually having meaning and impact. And for me, that's kind of what these events and these summits kind of do. They legitimize the term a bit more, give it more meaning, give it more intel. So getting it from buzzword to impact, it's pretty sure, is pretty important. So definitely, I think it's sort of a label for the time being.
Hi, good morning. If the ESG is just a label, well, at the minute, I think that firms need to be very aware of the real importance of the meaning of the ESG. I think that for the time being, there's a paradox between marketing and the reality. We need to evaluate why we have access to some products that are very dangerous to the environment, why we have access, like, let's say, to plastic and why do we have access to pollute or to damage the environment the way that we do as a consumer, and put the responsibility to some industries that continue to have a lot of benefit from those kind of products that are open in the market, and try to take away only the marketing on the proposal that those companies make. I think in some way it's still a label, but it is very good to stand to have this discussion, to put it into the agenda of this kind of activity in these forums to put the importance that we take away the label and put it into a real discussion, into see that the environment is getting real damage, and we need to do something about it. I think that's the reality that I saw happening.
So, morning everyone. Allow the startup guy to kind of wrap this up. And thank you, Dr. Peter, for giving us a history of how ESG came about. Actually, this is a very interesting question because I do see that, for example, one of the aggregators, because we are so embedded in the ecosystem, ESG is kind of the DNA of all. So we didn't think that we need to have a separate labeling, but because it's part of our DNA, in terms of how we measure our success, we do take into consideration exactly what is actually do for the environment, for the social, and we have a proper governance system around it. So perhaps for different level, you have established MNC. ESG is an important label because it guides how you move forward on the existing product. So for example, you might be doing some product that harm the environment, and you need an ESG framework to help you transform. But for the newer startups that we've seen in the market, they are mainly tech driven, and I would say ESG, ENA rather than energy.
Thank you, and Scott, that was really comprehensive. But that's the time for the audience with this question. Audience members, can you name an ESG company? You can try out small. Can you name an ESG company? Or you can try out
or a company that they do their business, but at the same time they are trying to improve their business.
So that's a very good question, right? Because when people take ESG companies these days, you find that it's not only the environmental companies that create it. And in fact, something that I found recently was research, ESG companies in the world, most of the companies listed there are not environmental. You'll be surprised at some of the companies that are. And in fact, I think certain companies, particularly the automotive industry, right, EV companies have been putting themselves as ESG companies. And yet, we're not really sure of the impact of rare mining, rare metal mining. It's going to damage the environment more than the impact of perhaps transitioning from oil to gas. And of course, the different technologies to develop for coal. So maybe question then to the panelists. Is it possible that with the right payment processes for oil and gas, that maybe these aren't a good impact? They will like to do.
Oh, I'm not going to answer that question. I'll let someone else answer it. But one point I wanted to make that I really agree with is that if you look at most ESG companies these days, the best ones are in fact not ESG startups, to your point. It's the ones that have kind of disciplines internally to push ESG agenda forward. And I spent a lot of time in Singapore with industry leaders, C-suite, exec. And I think a very good example of this, a company that's doing really well, is actually a consulting business called KPMG. We've all heard of them, no stranger there. But they are the leader in ESG consulting. They have done more probably in terms of impact than most businesses that are grassroots in this space. They have a particular part of the business called KPMG Origins, which basically incubates, invests, accelerates, spins up businesses across 3 verticals within sustainability. They focus on waste management, material extraction, and construction. And I met the CEO who runs this business, and they're constantly on the hunt how to accelerate founders that are in the space, giving them the resources, giving them the skills, giving them the money to sort of push things forward at a much faster pace than we're currently doing it when it comes to net zero initiatives. So I just wanted to sort of emphasize on Kim's point and give someone else the floor now for the aggregate abatement or the oil and gas abatement.
It happened to be my earlier career in my previous life, happened to be strategy consulting. I was in KPMG. But nonetheless, I didn't quite think we were that ESG focused. We consult for ESG. In my also my previous life, I was also chairing the United Nations Global Compact. Notably, I had rather favorite startups that I've seen, which are very impact focused. And I've seen companies like company that come out with lime straw. Lime straw is actually a straw with filters within. And particularly in certain countries in Africa and India, some of the waters are actually not potable because they are not drinkable. And here it helps in filtration, personal straw, made only $2 and it can last for 2 years or 1.5. In that case, many of what I understand a lot of my Indian partners or friends actually uses that, and that is the same line. But it's actually charged only $. The manufacturing cost is a lot less than 30 cents. So nonetheless, saving lives, water purification, it fulfills my type of ESG. The other type I've actually seen in Grameen banks, we all know from the Muhammad Yunus, who is actually the Nobel winners. Grameen banks basically are like that. Why do we lend to only the rich? Why are we not lending to the poor? And here this actually goes to microfinancing. They went to the households, they see for the female who actually are not in the workforce, they give it to them the financing. When they ask them to come up with a business model to buy a cow, and with the cow they're able to actually get milk from it. And with that comes out a business model. And which after they have revenue, therefore they will sell. So in some way it fulfills a certain ESG need. Their impact, it does good. But I think if we look at it and actually highlight financing, Grameen banks take about 17 years to break even. Or at least had its return on investment. So that's where I think it's slightly dichotomy here. That if you are an ESG company, are you able to still maximizing? Of course, it's not conflicting, but I guess nonetheless, it's one of those challenges that we have to solve. And that's where the abatement of maybe carbon credits. And I guess in banks and also with some of this, because it does good, it has carbon reduction. It should be able to enjoy government-landed financing where grants can go in. And because if grants goes in, therefore financially they're more viable. And the return on investment is faster. And likewise, I guess when it comes to oil company and EVP, because likewise, I guess oil company traditionally are actually non-ESG. They actually deplete and consume a lot more carbon. So in this case, I think that's where let me then defer to David, who is in ESG as a DNA company. Talk about this.
So thanks. I'm going to be brief and I'll take the Grameen example. I'm going to take the Grameen example and attempt to bring it back to the question that Keen asked us now. And actually, Grameen is perfect, right? Because Grameen was established to start and project on inclusive financing. But we all know that Grameen took years to be profitable. But inside all the works, there are also people who criticize with the way that business is managed. So similarly to whether an EV vehicle is truly ESG or not, one good example we could give is if you look at the history of EV in Singapore. In the very beginning, it was not supported. Because if we solely base on the fact that the EV has no emission of the car itself, that doesn't give you a comprehensive picture of the entire environmental footprint. Which is why in the very beginning, EV was not supported because Singapore was very cold. So putting oil in or burning coal to charge, something I think there's not much difference. So I think the conclusion is actually when we talk about ESG, very often we cannot just look at it from a single dimension. And you kind of have to expand that consideration a little bit wider. Thank you.
Okay.
I think that we should analyze the problem with the in the long term. Because let's say there's 100 years from in the future, what we're gonna do with all those batteries, no? And then the environment is gonna be very damaged again. Because the main reason for every company is to profit. So and in the short term, every company wants to develop a model, a business model to get money. And that's the main issue of every company that's going to be beginning to compete in the market. So in the long term, let's say I started 100 years from now, what's going to be the environment that we're going to be living for the next generation? And we see that future where we're not going to have any place where we're going to put those batteries. So what are we going to do with that kind of waste? And I don't see what is going to be that ESG or that governance that we're supposed to implement at this minute when we start to change the production system. So we have to imagine a new model, a new business model that is not only based on profit, but in sustainability and environment. So that's a challenge that the government will be in the ESG model, no? In the ESG term. So it's also something like we can do, like a computational model can analyze that future without wait for the 100 years. We can do it at this minute, computer model. And we can see what's going to happen with the parameters we are starting to see what the companies are doing, what the society is behaving, and we can see the future in our computer what is going to happen. So we can propose different business models. That's the thing that we can also be working on. I think that that kind of analysis, that kind of new ways to see what firms are doing, what initiatives are developing into the business and the government and the policies that the governments are doing. It is important in all the developed countries that already are developing these policies, and we can see what effect they are having in the environment. We can extrapolate to the other countries that also are trying to do this kind of strategy for the future. Thank you.
So now that we know that term ESG is kind of broad, it's a little loosely used these days. Do you think the ESG brand should be broad? The companies that are really environmental social brand itself,
Well, practically, we've seen many companies in the States. I also run a venture studio. They send a business proposal. In the past 10 years, I saw ESG rated, ESG compliant. But these days, they're writing climate change company. Carbon credit certified. So in this case, I think by market forces, they are all changing the nomenclature in some way. I was in United Nations, and in here, the UN also came out with a new definition, the 17th Sustainable Development Goal. When if you look at the SDGs from 1 to number 17, there are new ways of looking at it. So I've seen business plan come over. They are saying that we are complying to SDG 1, SDG 17, SDG 5, and here it is against the ESG now. I see most of them what they do are probably in audit or maybe in terms of public reporting disclosure. They still highlight or governance, which I did highlight because of most company act now requires the governance refresher and environmental and social responsibility. That remains quite narratives on how they actually mobilize, doing social good, etc. So I guess market forces has already by itself changing this term already.
maybe specifically related line, would you consider that you are ESG hard sold? Would you grant yourself premium?
So I definitely wouldn't. And I think just now one of the keynote speaker, going to borrow from quotes, we talk about social technical systems. Right? So fundamentally, and Dr. Baker talked about SDGs. At aggregate level, we fundamentally believe in SDG 8, which is economic growth, and SDG 13, which is about climate action. We believe that if you want to drive climate action, you need an economic growth, and it is a loop, right? Because climate action, positive climate action, will allow the economy to continue to grow. So we don't see ourselves dropping any of the latter. But if I may, at least internally, the way we think about it, we are not an ESG company, but the way we measure our company, I want to add one more time, ESGP. I'm going to add profit along environment, social, and governance, because that's how we measure our performance. They are all equal and sync, and I think dropping either one of them makes sense. Thank you.
Add a little bit to that. So for me, I've been in the technology scene for about 15 years throughout Southeast Asia. And what was interesting to see is, if you remember, IT, tech in general, was often seen as the redheaded stepchild in a business, right? So business ops came first, strategy came first, partnerships out. And then tech was kind of the not cool kid in the corner that never got any attention. So you fast forward to the last sort of half decade, and suddenly everyone's the tech company, right? A lot of businesses are tech driven, tech comes first, and then it trickles down throughout the business. So I feel like we're kind of at the verge of something similar happening with, I guess, EE and ESG, where it's going to transcend all different parts of the business. You're going to have businesses come forward and say, we are, environmentally friendly. We're doing our piece to offset carbon emissions. And I'll give you a story. I had a meeting maybe 4 or 5 years ago with SVP at MasterCard. So don't tell him I said this. I won't say specifically who. But I sat in a room with him, and we're recapping some of the business dealings we have going on next year. And I'm like, so, how would I describe you guys to other stakeholders, other businesses? Like credit card company? And he got so offended. He was like, D'Angelo, we are not a credit card company. I'm like, financial services? No, we are a tech company. And for me, I was like, oh, that's news to me. MasterCard is a tech company. So I feel like those conversations are conversations I'm going to be having kind of from now 5 years in the future, where businesses their heart's in the right place, but are they doing the right things to actually be an environmentally friendly business? And that's where I'm going to be challenging them along the way.
Well, there's so much more active, right? Especially since the ESG recently has been linked to several instances of greenwashing, especially amongst big companies. I know it's a touchy subject, but it's something we have to deal with. So that said, do you think the label ESG, because of the way it's set up, actually encourages greenwashing? How could we then use the ESG label responsibly so that we don't end up with that?
Well, yeah. I mean, in all the public listed exchange, the requirement is that they disclose and they show their company is compliant. So in that case, ESG become quite a norm, a standard that has been used for 2 decades now. And so the auditor come by and say, what is your ESG disclosure? Tell us about it. And the companies will show processes, all the whistleblowing, etc., which is standard. Normally, this are there. The E and the S is really very flexible. And some of them merely said, oh wow, we got 10,000 workers, send them to help in the old folks home or help in the some of the orphanage. But that really is social. Well, to them, they said, this is my CSR, corporate social responsibility. So I guess in here, because that is flexible by itself, and hence, the definition needs a certain reconfiguration. There have been attempts, and there have been agencies who actually highlighted, I'm actually an ESG rating company. I can rate the products. And we've seen within a financial product, one has been rated by one agency A, the other one rated at B. And you find within the agency rating, it's not standardized. So I guess in here, that lies, there need to actually standardize it worldwide, that's number one. Number two, what is that framework that everyone could actually agree on? Unfortunately, many of these companies are multinational. They might be headquarters in Dubai, they might be in Singapore, they might be in the US, and they are compliant to different public listing regime. And in this case, the standards are also different, unless all of us come together and say, we want single definition. So without which it's hard. So I guess in here, I would say we should actually shift it towards what the UN has really reconfigured towards SDGs. I think SDGs is defined as 17 of them. One, no poverty; number two, no hunger, etc., and helping in environmental protection, etc. So these are more listing and more clear cut.
I think we do have to move on, although I know this is a heavy topic, because it's going to cover funding, scalability, and regulation. So that said, now that we know some of what can be done to prevent greenwashing, the percentages for all the SDGs, there are a lot of PhD projects that have put the SDGs, but why can't more PhD projects about it? Recently, the news has several funds reported million losses, and they get refund, or they actually go down the fund stuff. So what's happening in the market? Why can't these PhD projects be funded?
I'll take this quickly from my experience throughout the entire marketing journey. And actually, this swings back to what Dr. Victor shared just now about standardization. From what we have seen in the market as a startup founder going out there to raise money from VCs and from different investors, we have a new category of investors nowadays in terms of impact investors. But the biggest challenge we've seen so far is any other investor would have a very clearly defined benchmark for financial returns, because we know exactly how to calculate on profit margin, we know exactly how to calculate on IRR. But the moment you throw impact in, it kind of become a little bit more murky, because exactly how much profit are you willing to compromise to drive what amount of impact? Which is why I think standardization is really, really important, because we need to be able to compare apples to apples. And this is not just for the sake of startup founders like us. Investors should also have this clarity, because sometimes we will be speaking with different impact investors, but we can never guess how much impact they want and how much compromise they will be. The bottom line is impact investment should not be money losing. Otherwise, become a charity. That's not a purpose of a for-profit company, but exactly how much impact. What are we doing? What are we willing to do? It all goes back to standardization and having some form of measured approach to determine how we balance profit and purpose.
So is that why you want to add an ESG?
Yes. To put it all side by side so that we can look at it on the same.
Well, I'm with Scout as well, which is an investment banking firm. We actually invest in multiple products, and as you hear, I'm also into the NGOs and charity. I guess in here, I actually seen well, I agree with Morningstar. Basically, they looked at all the financial products and they mentioned 1,500 of them does not deserve to have the ESG rating, or even should be removed because that's misleading. That's one part. The second part is I read about the Harvard review just in 2022 last year. I think part of the studies does highlight that while there are studies that shows that ESG actually gives certain financial and maybe they are not losing money, but I guess it remains to say that because you are ESG focused, your financial yield will be astronomical. I think that's a true statement. So I guess David highlighted in ESG you should not lose money, it's agreeable. But here it is, I guess it has to be understood that there is a tension. Because with your impact, you're not all out to maximize financial profit. Definitely, because we are also looking at how we're helping the poverty, how we're conserving the greens, and all the rest. We're taking extra effort, extra resources, extra cost to preserve the environment, and even saving people's lives. That by itself, financial, does not necessarily give you a direct financial return. And I guess that's the part that what we see these days in our impact investment, we looked at two parts. Financial, we should not lose money, but we are not maximizing the financial return. But the second part, we ask for, show us what is the impact. How many lives are you saving? How much carbon are you reducing? And how many companies are you benefiting? And that is priceless by itself. That cannot be quantifiable, that we cannot show finances. Even down to today, if we are preserving our tree, I don't get the financial return in there, but nonetheless, we know it's priceless because which after we had no more earth to actually reside it. That's something you can't quantify for financial return.
I agree with you saying for everyone. That's it. You say that PhD is going to lose money, and yet certain initiatives such as Grameen, as pointed out earlier, right? Those 17 years to break even without Grameen, there will be a lot of small little things that would have survived, a lot of people would have suffered. But if that's the case, then how can we say that PhD project that's been supported cannot lose money? Because ultimately it's not always possible for the kind of projects that did. And if that were the case, how do you find the balance? So carbon credits the answer to find some way to incentivize PhD projects that would otherwise lose money.
Yes, in here, it depends on the financial horizon we're looking at. I think if you are a short-term investor, show me the money in 3 years or 5 years. Maybe some of this are not giving you a great return. Grameen banks, on record, they show 17 years return investment. So in here, some of this, if we are longer horizon, it might give us a certain return. That's one part. Second, I think carbon credits and also government grants. Some of this blended financing, we realize, are quite important. Grameen banks helps some of those homeless or those which are in poverty. They would have been a social problem. There's a social cost. Government would have to actually put in finances, funds, healthcare to save it. And I guess in here, the Singh government was very minded. They actually put in preemptive funds as a grant to make sure the lower echelons are being assisted. So this by itself does have a financial return in some way, but it's seen in another social cost that are being preempted. So I guess in your question, in short, it's possible that we should not lose money. But I guess the return is not what we should not be stressing that we had a great financial return at 25%, etc. And those are actually quite a challenge.
Maybe just to build on that thought, I think Dr. Victor used the term blended financing, and it does seem like the way forward. And I think over the last few days in COP28, we have already heard many parties talking about that. I came from a rice sector where we have definitely seen some form of blended financing being carried out in the developed countries, particularly when it comes to lending to smallholder farmers. Inherently, it's high risk. So we do see donors coming in to de-risk some of this initial investment. But moving ahead, I think some principle need to be adhered. We've seen a couple of projects where after receiving initial grant support from donors, the moment the funds are being pooled, the project stops. So I think these are the core principles when we do have a blended finance system where we have government grants, when we have public money going into the system, there needs to have a long-term view that when this grant are being pooled, this project needs to be able to stand alone. And when it comes to carbon credit, I mean, one quick statement, I think it is one of the entry points, but certainly not the only ability we can play for.
Definitely some key points there. And by the way, audience, in case you're wondering if you're going carbon, that's going to be more topic. So thank you for that. But that's it. As I understand it, it's quite a powerful producer for benefit carbon because of the way it's structured as contract. Is there something there that would really help these small owners get carbon credits to the fund, these environmental practices, and save the world, right?
It's a very short question to require a very complex answer. I think, first of all, we must agree that the whole purpose of agriculture is to produce food. It serves a food security purpose. But unfortunately for us, agriculture also results in a lot of greenhouse gas emissions. So when the market overemphasizes on carbon credit as a means to help the farmers escape poverty, it does change the narrative a little bit, and it kind of switch the focus away from food production to carbon reduction. And it also depends on which industry we're talking about. I think the dairy industry is known to generate a lot of greenhouse gas emissions. And what happened in the market over the last few years, instead of working on carbon credit projects and help the farmers. We see investors started investing in alternative protein to reduce the amount of cows in the market. So it is a yes and no question. Can the farmers really benefit from carbon credit? Yes. Exactly. Are we looking for short-term impact or long-term impact? I'm most familiar with rice, and a hectare of rice will generate maybe 4 tons of carbon credit a year. 4 tons of carbon credit. Give me a price, $10, $40. $40 means nothing to the farmer. It's not going to change anything. It's not going to change behavior. We need to think a lot deeper into that instead of just hoping that carbon credit will change how a farmer operates in the future.
Moderator, I will take some questions from audience. Are there a lot of questions in the audience that you find? I think we're going on in sure.
Thank you for the table. Thank you for the table. My name is Gustavo. I just like to know, in your vision, your organization, how do you promote the standard development group of the UN into the startups you are incubating? It's just a matter of show me the money or show me the SDG compliance.
Asking an investor, if you're asking an investor, may I ask you direct question to incubator for all incubators? Okay. So I want to ask that question too. So you like
Show me the money or show me the what it is.
show me the SDG compliance. SDG compliance, not money.
I think that it should be show me the SDG compliance, not show the money, but that's the discussion. Because depending on the business model, that's the main discussion that I do have. What are we looking at? We are looking at a long-term business model, and we are looking at short-term. Because if we are only looking because we want to be like a profitable, only looking into profit, then we need money. We need to have the profit as soon as possible, and we have to be competitive, and we have to get return of our investment as soon as possible. But if we want to be compliant with the some standards, and we have to be responsible with the environment, with society, then our business model shouldn't be only focused on profit. It should be focused on society and on long-term relation with society and with the environment. But that's kind of green. That's we need to be very. We have to put our feet down. I don't know how to put it into something like putting that down to earth words, because the companies they're looking for profit. That's the reality, and that's the business model. Business model is profit, and then we have to go and see what alternatives we have, and what that's why I like this discussion, because in this discussion we put the truth in the table, and then when we see the truth, then we can talk about it, and we can discuss it, and we can see what are we really wanted to do. If we really want to do something for the future, we want to do something sustainable, or we are only talking about label. One of the first questions that we were talking about, that's very interesting. That's one of the very most important things that we can do when this kind of discussion. I think this is very important for this event. We discussed the philosophical question must put into the business model.
If I can supplement this, I want to address it. I thought that maybe in Latin America, there's a different way of it. We run a venture studio. One of our investment in 2018 is called Air Carbon Exchange. Air Carbon Exchange is listed or registered in Abu Dhabi. And Air Carbon Exchange is a carbon credit exchange. We had also went to London, Toronto, Nairobi, and various states. Within our venture studio, we had a vision or alignment of value that we write must be triple P, people, planet, profit. So any of the things that come by, you want to see that they fulfill slightly to actually a certain societal impact. They benefit people. Number two, environmental friendly. If there's something, we don't invest in oil and gas, unfortunately. So there are certain things that we, even though it was good return in 2018, but then we did not. And when it comes to financial, we didn't believe that we should be subsidizing or investing and money losing, like what David earlier highlighted, it's not charity. So in here, we actually fulfill this. So any one of this that come by, we actually does all the thing. And if it doesn't fulfill our criteria, we said maybe you go to someone else. And we do not maximize that entire profit in such a way that they have to sacrifice for people. So I guess in here, how the air carbon credit exchange came in, we realized that how do we then better way to actually shortlist a company whether they are ESG compliant is to see that they transact everything they are already compliant. And we found all those certificates come to our exchange. They are certified by gold standard, Vera standard. So someone else, third party, would have told us this guy has already done the carbon reductions. So that's good for us. Someone verified comes to us to trade. We know we are doing good. Carbon credit reduction. The second part of this, we knew moving forward by 2050, all countries has to be carbon neutral. And in here, carbon eventually might be the new oil. Early on, our colleague was telling us, or it could be the new currency. So no doubt, in the 2018 to 2023, 5 years, we don't see the liquidity yet. We are investing for the long term. So in here, that's where I highlight how long is the investment window. If I'm looking at 3 years, then it will not work. Then looking at longer, 10 years, 10 years. And I guess if we accumulate enough of this credits, I guess subsequently, when the regulations comes in and their carbon tax, it will naturally goes up with higher demand. So I guess that's where we have faith in it, and we operate based on this. And we don't mind compromising financial without losses, but looking at longer term. I hope I answered your question.
That's it. Then, sorry, people and profit. It seems that a lot of initiatives have people, planet, but profit takes a long time. And some of these initiatives cannot last 3 to 5 years, especially if certain things crop up or if it's environmental, given that we are reaching tipping points, the environment will start to self-destruct and the process of recovery takes even longer. So along with that, anything profit, is scalability something that perhaps funders or government agencies look at and choose a project to run? Is scalability something that is scalability a core factor that you look at when suddenly project fund?
As a financier, as an accelerator and incubator, yes, scalability was necessary. I guess if something that can't scale, we do not invest in it. So we've seen business model like a platform model. If it's on the internet, that's how it works. Carbon credit exchange is an exchange. So we have multiple sources to come on board to trade scalable. So we are now looking at more digital model. And scalability is one of our important parts. And especially, I guess, we are in climate change. We do not want redundancy or wastage of resources. Scalability becomes extremely important. And so most of our investment are all deep tech or digitalization. And when digitalization is concerned, we had avoided investing in high intensive capital, infrastructure, real estate, or even some of those that because that pick up our investment is capital intensive, take a long while to return for us. So in this case, we particularly look at scalability and technology, climate change problem.
Yeah, and to add to that a little bit, I think ESG startup or non-ESG startup, the rules really don't change. Investors or venture builders are going to look at product market fit and how fast can you make revenue, right? These are the staples of when venture builds, they could be a bit more altruistic, or traditional VCs look to invest. One in particular in Singapore is Wavemaker Impact, right? Planet Rise, these businesses that specifically look at these type of founders, and they put them the same ruling sort of like obstacle course of can you scale this, how fast can you scale this, how unique is this idea, how passionate is the founder. So scalability is still very much on the mind of impact investors, venture builds that prioritize sustainability.
So I definitely agree that scalability is core. For example, oh, okay. So in the sense that we work in the rice industry, just Southeast Asia itself, we have 46 million hectares of rice fields. So the ability to scale as fast as possible makes up for the fact that for every single hectare, the profit margin is really not high. But just to top up what the panelists have shared, we talked a lot about technology. Borrowing our keynote speakers quote as well, it's not just about science, engineering, and technology. I think we are operating in a sector where we are absolutely knowledge rich but solution poor. To scale, sometimes it's not just about the sort of technology we have, but the understanding of human behavior or what the people on the ground really need. Nokia, we talked about it earlier today. Nokia's slogan used to be connecting people. But for those of you who understand Mandarin, Nokia actually, the slogan in Mandarin is way more elegant. The slogan in Mandarin is about how you make technology work. Nowadays, I do feel like sometimes we are stuck in technology into the face of the users. Use blockchain, use AI, it doesn't matter whether you need it or not, it's good for you, it's more efficient to use it. I think we need to kind of move away from that mentality in order for us to scale more organically and holistically.
So moving to the last question, as I see we are running out of time. Or second last question is that on top of scalability, I know a lot of PhD companies have startups have issues with understanding regulation and carbon climate, right? Because as it is, it's quite confusing. There's so much information, and it is different economies and different ways of looking at carbon and treating it. So, what are some regulatory trends that you are seeing? Maybe we could start with that. What are some regulatory trends you are seeing for the carbon tax? Some trends you are seeing for carbon. Like what do you think the regulation is going to do towards? Yes,
Well, I think that the standardization should be one of the most important things that we should see in the ESG firm. I think that the companies should work together and maybe develop some in between the thing that Gustavo was asking between the profitability and the standardization of the development model for the UN. And I think that we should move forward to combine those objectives between the development, the economic growth, and the environmental objectives and the social and governance that we are talking about, but focusing on the economic growth, because we shouldn't stay where we are, even in whatever part of the world that we were talking about. I know I have a vision part that we were talking earlier that I'm coming from another place, another reality, and it is different from this part of the world, but it is the same. We're talking about the development, economic growth, and the strategy for the future. And I think that the same strategies apply from firms here, firms everywhere. We need to go for the same goal, for the same economic growth, for the same development. And I think that the thing that I would like to see for the firms in my region of the world,
So specific to carbon, I'm pretty sure we will talk more about carbon tomorrow. We definitely see a trend where compliance market standards, methodology, and voluntary carbon market standards they will merge in the sense that even at a BCM level, there will be higher requirement for data quality, transparency, and accountability. The challenge is how do we uphold all these stringent criteria without increasing the cost of project development. So there's a challenge in the trend going forward.
I would say the trend that we're seeing out of APAC is sustainability accounting, right? And businesses that actually see what their greenhouse emissions look like, what their carbon footprint looks like. At the moment, it's only 10% of businesses actually globally that collect this data and see what their impact is. So throwing another buzzword out there, AI coming into play, it's actually a good use of it, where sustainability accounting can be done a lot smarter, a lot cheaper, a lot faster than what it takes now. It takes 6 to 9 months to do it. It takes a team of 20, cost you 250, 300,000 if you outsource it. But I think sustainability accounting is going to be a healthy trend that's going to, with AI, needs to be a thing that continues to happen.
We see certain trend that everyone has said is at the edge. Now, afforestation, nature-based solution, Guardian, since the Guardian episode, many of them are highlighting, is that even helping to reduce climate change? So I guess that part we see a trend towards that, maybe a lesser emphasis on that. The second part, I guess, we'll see carbon emission reduction, the science-based, the technology-based will be coming in. I think that'll be accelerated. And to make that happen, I guess voluntaries, we've been doing this voluntary for the longest time, the last 2-3 decades. I guess some countries are posturing that there will be a tax or not a compliance farming. So in here with that, that will likely accelerate liquidity with carbon credits, and some of this will incentivize some of this technology solution to try to reduce carbon emission. So I guess that's likely the trend that we see as well.
Thank you very much, Chair. Time regulation is there, and it's important part, I think, waiting for you.
And I will,
Quickly finish with.
Yes, I could. So sorry, I understand that question of the floor, but we have to take that off, right? So to summarize some of the trends that you see, include more intermediate solutions, error accounting, everyone moving forward to do their part, right, as well as deregulation, emission reduction, more carbon credits. So perhaps for the panel, if you could share just in one sentence, one thing you'd like to see happen after COP28.
One can repeat, please.
More carbon taxes issued by governments.
Realistic numbers to balance profit and purpose.
More regulation from the government.
More regulation. You are more regulated.
And I guess realistically, everyone here, that climate change is all part. Everyone play a role. It's not the company, not the regulator, but every one of us.
All right, let's get around for the panel.
Thank you for this interesting panel, and we would like to ask you to stay on stage for a group photo.
Come in the front.
We know that we could have, and more time, but.
Picture, okay, stay.
Yeah, sure. With me or without?
Yes.
Stay. You want with me? Yes. Okay.
Stay.
Marketing. Thank you.
Okay. Our journey continues with our second panel discussion for the day, Green Finance for Sustainable Global Growth. Join me in extending a warm welcome to our panelists, Engineer Chen Tan, Founder Anatom Ecosystem, Regional Director, Founder Institute, member of the IISEC and IEEE TIMS, Mr. Andy Chen, the past president IEEE TIMS.
I think it's time to rename it from panel discussion to a fireside chat. And here we are. So, green finance is something everyone is looking for. In fact, everyone is looking for finance. Then they came, okay, let's look for green finance as well. The world around us is changing. The way we live, the way we commute, the way we work, the way we interact, everything has changed. And now, next decade and beyond, we also hear that green finance, renewable energy projects, and more such industry solutions and transitions would continue to happen. And this is where green finance would act as a catalyst. So, Andy, I would like to learn more about what are your views on green finance and how do we go about it? Like,
Yeah, okay. So many of you know, some of you know that I'm actually part of the venture capital. We're looking for investment on the disruptive technologies, sustainable technologies. Just share with you some of my experience that how we look for different entrepreneurs and startups. We have been in the industry, in the context of talk about net zero. But in the industry, a lot of times we refer to it as circular economy. How many of you heard of circular economy? Raise a hand. So what we're looking for is probably in this day and age, and this is kind of changed in the last maybe year or two or so, when it started to have more issues coming out. And basically, there are about 10 principles that we look for. And we started from big sector to the right? Conservation that we talked about this morning. That's part of the use. We don't use as much as we do before. And then many of them also talk about refurbish, reconditioning, remanufacture. Those are all stuff that industry is thinking about. Instead of buying a new one, we refurbish. Say in Ontario, where I was the CEO of the Ontario Power Generation, we have mainly nuclear power generations. And each of them are usually last for 25 years. We build a nuclear plant, 25 years, then you gotta shut it down. But if you refurbish it, you can extend it another 25 years. So that would also minimize some of the footprint costs. So I think in the industry, they also talk about reposition, remanufacture. Those are the things that we use. It's a lot of GreenTech are kind of recycled and used. And I think that's what we're looking for in the company. How do they reduce the footprint? By actually get down to the cost.
Yes, definitely. I mean, the awareness helps. So earlier we used to, if we look our lives, maybe 5 years ago, we kind of products, or number of products we use which were recycled. And the number of products have been used, the number of products what we use these days, the number has increased. So that is where the awareness has definitely played a role. So what are the, apart from entrepreneurs, industry associations like IEEE, thought leaders, what are the driving factors which you foresee that would fuel the growth of these ecosystems?
So I guess I'm going to do a little bit of blocking for actually Thames. So as many of you know, the Thames stands for Technology and Management Society. And one of the 5 things that we focus on is to actually normalize the expectations of government, the cultures, and the industry. And many of members do research in that area there. And I think when you consider something, you gotta consider all totality impact. Government has to make some policy, and the manufacturer has to be ready to adopt, and the culture has to be ready with that. So I think for it to be successful, to be doing one thing for one person, for one area, it has to be with the balance.
Yeah, and when we move governance part of it, so more and more stringent measures for measuring the impact and the governance are coming in place. And my question to you is, while yes, we feel governance is there, but in my personal opinion, we feel that automation along with governance would definitely help. Because then you get the right results, you are able to audit the trail, and then you are able to move to the next level and extend the right benefit to the right project, right initiative in the right way. So, Andy, I wanted to know what sort of that this governance can be enhanced with help of automation, various automation tools. So, tell me your views on automation.
Well, one of the stuff, and then again, I'm a true actually believer. I think in order for it to be adopted, to be able to deploy it and to make any policy work, you have to have some kind of standard practice, best practice, standard practice. And one of the stuff that actually is cellular is to establish an industry standards, which could be towards the sustainability, could be towards the green. So for us in the community, I think it'd be great that we come up with more of a standard, including the industry leaders together. That's something like that. Maybe we should ask a question from the audience. Anybody else?
Yeah, definitely. So, I would like to know your views on automation as an enabler for ensuring governance, measuring the impact. So, how you guys, if you can, any one of you has got any point of view that you need to share, please go ahead.
Must be close to lunch. We're so tired. Quiet. Somebody's got to have some questions. There you go. Can we give the mic? Can we give the mic?
Maybe I'll offer I think in the agriculture industry, we want to focus nation to help enhance government understand, right? But the kind of hindering this always towards cost. Because farmers, especially smallholder farmers, they do not have enough capital, and it's very difficult to justify investment into a robust system that end up costing more. Thank you.
I think you should repeat the question. Ask him to repeat the question with the mic. just so that we got the right answer for you.
I'm taking up your time.
That's okay, we got plenty of time.
So I'm sharing because specifically in the agriculture sector, when Southeast Asia, when we work a lot with smallholders, any form of automation, any form of technology that helps improve governance, helps improve processes, they're always welcome. So the technology is there. The biggest issue that the industry faces is that who's going to fund it? And definitely not the older market. And sometimes for business, it's difficult to justify investing in top-notch technologies and solutions, but we couldn't find a way to get return. Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, so I would like to, I mean, it's coincident, yesterday I was with a couple of thought leaders of Bricks Forum, and we were discussing something similar, wherein the cost of automation and the opportunity for introducing new technology. Actually, we were discussing what is the opportunity to introduce new technology into GreenTech as such. And while after moving around various topics, actually, this question as well came up. And this is where we all agree that if we implement the technology, then the quality, the shelf life, and the wastage can be reduced. So, right now, there are not many grains which are not monitored, the supply chain leakages are there, and that is where we are not able to get the right monetization, right effect, right benefit. Lot of grains, lot of food gets wasted. How do you reduce it? So everything, probably we need to look at the other way around. Let us flip the coin. It's time to flip the coin and see that, okay, fine. If I introduce a tech, then will I be able to improve efficiency of the entire supply chain? Will I be able to benefit more citizens? Will I be able to reduce wastage? And thus, it automatically will become a feasible initiative. So that's my point. I hope I'm able to answer.
So is that Dave? Is that Dave? Yeah, right. So that's great. I mean, you asked a question I had answered. So that's a good question. Let me give you a little examples. Last March, actually entrepreneurship. How many of you have heard of actual entrepreneurship? Okay, that's great. This is a good place to be. So Chintan is our representative in India, and we have another representative in China, and then the other one in Southeast Asia. So our Southeast Asia happened to be the president of robotic automation in Malaysia. His name is Dr. Iskandar. All right. He is initiating a agriculture robotic with China. The two countries are collaborating right now to come up with an innovation center where they can jointly participate in development. And like we say, where the money is coming from, it's got to have some kind of government support, the funding to make it happen. The more countries get in, I think the opportunity is going to grow. So we started with Malaysia and China. China is through down Robotic Industry Association. And they signed an MOU to start an innovation center in Malaysia. And it is specifically for agriculture, robotic automation. So I think that would be something that would be very interesting to follow up. And I can turn it into Dr. Iskandar for that.
Yeah, definitely. And keeping that specific everything as focus, a lot of new initiatives like drone for spraying pesticides, as well as automating those farm insurances, that is also helping reduce the wastage. At present, now with various automation, government is able to gauge that what sort of crop is being sought in what kind of land, what is the tentative inflow of crop, right? So that is where the visibility is being built in. And we also need to look at what sort of farm insurance are being set in which area, then you can actually learn that what sort of rates are going to come to the market and make your supply chain more efficient. apart from this, there is lot of non-performing inventory which is lying in this chain, and that is where various types of automation tools would help actually. Coming to the next question, we also talk a lot about electric vehicle and then green hydrogen. So all these are the new net zero technologies, and this is where I think I would like to know your viewpoint about how we are as IEEE gearing up to meet these challenges next probably right now none of us is talking about green hydrogen or EV as we used to talk maybe 3 years ago, right now that we have some more visibility. Within next 3 years, what sort of things you see? What new things you foresee that green hydrogen would, I mean, the use cases or electric vehicle would scale up? What is your vision for these two technologies like?
Yeah, so I guess in order for it to actually making the electric vehicles more useful is two things. How long does it take to charge a battery? It takes overnight. So then most people would not be able to do business because so many hours of parking just to charge a vehicle. The second one is how far can it go? Can it go 500 kilometers? Can it go 1,000 kilometers? So, and all that are hinging on a technology of the battery, right? So everybody knows about that. Tesla comes out, they heads out every year. New model comes out, they go further. The charger gets moved. But one of the things that's very interesting for a long time in Japan, it's very hesitant to get into the electric car. It's not hybrid, but you hardly see any pure electric car that comes out of Japan. But I'm told that Japan's coming out with a new technology that charging only half an hour and goes out a mile. So I think there's a disruption coming along on the battery design technology, and now kind of give us what we call a tipping point. Right? That's where you start to shooting up and then changing to a different platform.
And these are the initiatives, these are the technologies where green finance is being formed more and more investors are looking at various startups, various investment opportunities. And if we move to the next level, we all need to be aware about the green energy, green finance. And if we look at this spectrum, carbon capture is another way where everyone is actually curious but not clear. And that is where we as a team need to build some more music to spread awareness. Because if you look at various net zero technologies, they are like kind of movie of around 20 technologies put together. But when we talk about it, probably that awareness that itself is missing. And that is where I feel platforms like this should be able to help provide more visibility by engaging academia, industry, and other stakeholders. Why I say this? Is there a way that we can engage with startups? Because not only new emerging technologies and new initiatives are coming from startups. So going back to our IEEE entrepreneurship, can you tell us how are we encouraging those emerging technology startups? Like maybe let me give you a hint that you can share more information about the mentoring program, what we are planning to launch, because this is where I must say that the audience will get benefited. There is on one side there is a great opportunity, and on the other there is a great set of mentors which IEEE entrepreneurship is organizing. So if we can share more about the mentoring program.
Well, this is the mentoring program. The mentoring program is one of our probably more extensive programs. We have mentored, like myself, 2 hours a week, will be talking to some of the young entrepreneurs, people that having some good ideas and didn't know how to make it into a product or go to the market. But one of the things that everybody knows, to do a startup, you need some funding. You need somebody who's either your uncle or somebody that the angels or something that will actually help you with some funds, get your ideas into a reality. One of the things that I believe entrepreneurship is planning to do is we're planning to have a deep tech summit. We're bringing together about 300 investors. And that's going to be all get-togethers, and we're planning maybe in actually Georgia Tech, working with us. But that is going to be the invitation that we like to actually bringing all investors to help us figure it out where are the source of funds and what they are looking for. And I think that's something you want to stay in tune with. That would be a very interesting event, working out to the different market.
Yes, please. If there's a question. Mike, Eric.
I think any might be up.
Sorry, I'm not here. Okay.
Yeah, I actually wanted to ask a similar question, previous panel too, but it's here as well. So we're talking about different kinds of green finance and sources of finance. Of course, we've been talking also about all these different sustainability challenges, climate change, and perhaps other sustainability issues that we want to address and we can. The question is there anything you can say about what type of finance is appropriate for what kind of projects? And so I'm not that familiar with the startup world, but I'm sure there's several types of venture funding available in the corporate sector, which I'm more familiar with. There's venture funding with corporate ventures, there's R&D, all the corporation. Governments are funding certain kinds of projects. What color of money is good for what kind of project? Whether you just think in terms of perhaps the capital cost of the work that needs to be done, or you think about the horizon before payback, or maybe there is some other way to think about it.
So, as far as startups are concerned, it depends on the stages. So, right from our initial stages, we have friends and family, and then when product is ready, development is ready, then we get some angels, and then comes VC, and then we get some traction. Apart from this, nowadays there are various types of grants which are available from the government. There are various energy agencies who are also running accelerator programs. So that is also, in addition to available grants, these accelerator programs are also helping bridge, helping to bridge the gap. Because
there are kinds of funding available, but what projects are appropriate for what kinds of funds?
Okay, so like the solar initiatives mainly are promoted by government agencies. There is less amount of angel funding or any VC funding is available. Institutional funding is more and more towards these solar and wind energy sectors. Government funding, especially like other government funding agencies, are investing into these days. They have come up with green hydrogen projects. Like Government of India has announced $4 billion of budget for steel industry to test green hydrogen pilots. So this is the kind of seriousness government is demonstrating, and then they are engaging actively with various steel majors. So like if we talk about green hydrogen, if we talk about renewable energy like solar and wind, at various level government funding is actually benefiting. Apart from this, not only funding, the power purchase agreement also matters, and that is where government is playing a key role. Apart from funding, they are actually ensuring that the output is purchased for 25 years. And thus government is supporting these projects.
I hope I'm able to answer your question.
Okay. Thank you very much. I think there is a fire now, so let me add some fire to it, if you allow me, Chairperson.
With, oh, well, let me answer his question before you, I just want to quickly answer it. As far as funding goes, every country has different adoptions, different strategies. But from an investment point of view, I see that India is actually taking the lead these days in attracting the foreign investment more than any other country. And there's a lot of hype in this round about the some of the funding that's available and some of the talent that's in India that are attracting foreign investment. So it's something that you might also right? It's really what was in China now we start seeing a lot more in shipping.
Thank you very much. I think all of you may be aware that some of the government regulations are putting on the banks that certain funds needs to be allocated. For whatever you call carbon neutral or even I heard to what extent we will regulate it. The question that shareholders are asking no more financing to those industries. They are referring to fossil energy industries, where they are producing huge quantity of greenhouse gases. So what the shareholders are asking, second, government want to put those regulations. And some banks are voluntarily saying that, okay, we will now after 2050 or something, whatever number we put it, 2030, 2040, 2050, will only be financing those green projects. So do you think that is really practical to do that, or it is more of another green talk?
In my personal opinion, it is much needed to trigger the transition towards net zero. Right? Somewhere you need to take the first step and then push people to start adopting. At the next level, improvement comes. And that is where government is pushing, shareholders are pushing, investors are pushing to move towards that, because future is clear. We need to act on net zero by 2028. These days is really uncertain. We need to move from those high emitting industrial processes to newer processes. We need to get rid of certain, like, what do you call it? Aviation fuel, sustainable aviation fuel. So more and more oil majors are introducing sustainable aviation fuel. We need to reduce those carbon emissions. We need to reduce carbon from the construction industry. And then that is where low carbon processes are being introduced. Low pollution processes are being introduced in construction industry as well. Automobile industry is going tremendous amount of change, right? Like right from TV to digital dashboards to whatnot, automation, connect to internet, and hence it's a great opportunity for new technologies, new investments with help of government intervention. The entire adoption and transition can be expedited.
So,
Can I ask a question?
let me answer the question first, then we'll get to the second. So, I guess every government has some kind of obligations on supporting the industry. Depending on the country, let's say Canada, where I come from, we are natural resource rich country. We have a lot of fuel, we have a lot of coal, we have a lot of those for agricultural energy. And those generate carbon emissions and that. So, in order for us not to kill the industry of our gas industry, government has to invest on some technology developed with people's not worried about putting in the field. They're worried about transmission of CO2 to the environment. If you can have clean scrubbers and things like that, that could reduce that, they can have both. Actually, utilize the resources that, but also keeping the green. So in Canada in particular, I think we're making a lot of investment in Alberta for that kind of investment. How about your question?
We see that there is a lot of discussion over the world in COP28, COP27, all this event. Governments, industries speak how to increase the movement of the world towards sustainability and green technology. Do you think we have enough mechanisms of funding and green funding that encourage more startups that work in the area of sustainability or the green? And what is the recommendation to increase this kind of fund to accelerate? Because I think a lot of the new ideas that can help to solve a lot of these problems will come from innovators and from startups. And if we want to enable them, we need to provide enough funding for them to be able to try. And some of this funding can goes to nothing. You can invest a lot of money in some new technology, but at the end of the day, there is no financial return on this investment. But this kind of fund should be there to try to reach a success technology and the key contribution of the new technology to the solution to the climate change.
Yeah, so I would like to answer your question in three parts. There is no dearth of money as far as sustainability related projects are concerned. Be it VC, be it angel investors or government or institutional funding or grants, everything is available. Second point, we need to encourage entrepreneurs and innovators. Let them make something. There can not be an ultimate and final solution and product at the first iteration itself. Let encourage people, innovators, to make something for the first time. Then comes the next senior level of product managers, technology enthusiasts, solution architects, improve the product, right? I mean, we look at our startup cycles. When you launch, when you are in beta phase, you are at a very single digit profitability. But when you scale up, then afterwards you actually start making the benefit. So the same thing goes for all sort of sustainability and green projects. At least allow innovators to make something and demonstrate. One of my mentees made a outdoor air purifier, which is a pole mounted solution. I myself have funded him. Like, what is it that you are thinking? Just go and do it. He did it. It's a makeshift solution. We need to engage various product and industrial designers to make it an industry-ready solution, right? But yes, when we put it into a test environment, we could see that the outdoor air purifier actually works and improves the EQI. So this is the effect. He came up with some idea and then just funded it. He got a solution, which is not a sellable solution. But now we are getting a new set of people to work on the same solution. Right? He's a partner, so he's not left out. He's part of the team. But people who have a prior experience of making industry-ready products are working on these products, and thus we all can join this bandwagon. So I hope I am able to share my viewpoint.
So Muhammad, I think that's a perfect question for us to actually ask during the COP28. That's where the data comes together as it says on goal. And I think the Turek talked about 2050, some countries going to be net zero, 2060, 2070. Once the government make that pledge, they would have some resources funding behind it to make it happen. And so it is vitally important we bring the leader together. And actually, it's an official thing right now. Our president, which is coming tomorrow, we're going to talk about how much work we focus on green sustainability and what much work we are doing. So it'll be a very interesting session.
And I think Sheikh Mohammed bin Zayed, the president of United Arab Emirates, announced about a big fund, 3 billion $3 billion to invest in the green technology. And this should be done by different countries to encourage and increase the funding that support the transition to green technology.
So that is where funding is not a challenge. But the real challenge is to get the investable project, which actually would be able to create a sustainable impact. So this is where IEEE industry, academia can join hands and bridge the gap.
And that's actually your question about would that money, which part of it the money is. And I think collectively, we would have to work together and actually it's very good at research. And then be able to come up with a better technology innovations. So I think the picture is right.
So
Any other question from anyone? Yes, please, go ahead.
So I was wondering, actually, wherever we go, we and businesses. So in those companies, we suffer from biology, which is, and we don't have enough resources to come up with new solutions, all that to implement them. And also, we won't find, like, most of them do not have access to information coming from the government or whoever wants to invest in sustainability and have that. So, and also in the other side, you will find research and development. They are providing new solution on how to deal with that kind of issues. And all that studies are still in the archival. Nobody use them because they don't have the access to the economic issue. So, in your opinion, how we can join those efforts to make the funding or the investment more profitable and everyone gets the right information on how to make it like more optimized.
So, as far as, so if I understand and interpret your question correctly, you want to ask the same question for MSMEs, basically your focus is around MSMEs, right? Medium and small businesses, and then how do we engage government stakeholders? Yeah, please.
What do you mean by this? What?
Small and medium businesses, SMBs.
Yes, exactly. So what I'm saying is the fact that those companies do not have access to information and they don't have the resources to be able to, like, they are more focused on business and how to get profit and they deal with the daily basis problems. And let's say they're so busy with the small tasks and do not go and have like know about how it goes to make their project more sustainable. Even there are some companies that are trying to do that, but they don't have the finance, like the funds to do that properly. And in the other side, we have researchers that can optimize this, like the investment, and to give. Sometimes you'll find solutions that are, let's say, less costly or they're not expensive at all that we can implement to have sustainable practices. But so the information is not going through the, like between those two
Yes, so
groups.
there are ways like enterprises, ESG aware businesses, even governments, they will be sending to procure certain percentage of their procurement from MSME businesses. First thing. Second thing, they have come up with online procurement platforms, which list their needs, wherein MSMEs can list and then share. Third point, as far as grants and other scale-up opportunities are concerned, there are not many grants available from even service providers like Google, AWS, IBM are providing cloud credits. So MSMEs need to think and then engage with other stakeholders. What I strongly believe is once the MRR, monthly recurring revenue, sets for a MSME, they get into their comfort zone. And they lose the eye on the product roadmap as well as expansion to newer markets. People who are able to have an eye on these two aspects, they are able to move further. Rest, they remain in their confined market.
I don't know how many of you heard of a term phrase like open ventures. Anybody heard of open ventures? Yeah, I think Robert and I were, Robert, you should know. The founder of Open Venture was with you last month. So out of Berkeley, there is a very famous professor. His name is Chesbrough.
Open innovation.
Open innovation, you know, and open venture. We in our industry, that's what we call it. But part of open innovation was trying to encourage that the smaller, medium-sized, much agile to come up with innovation. There's not a lot of process procedures or bureaucratic stuff. They can come up with innovations and ideas and making it much faster than big companies like Google, Microsoft. So they, out of Berkeley, and these open innovations and open venture capital are focused around how do you actually get a small company become integrated into a big company and actually funding them to become all of what they're looking for. I mean, one very successful example is Ravi Karen, right? He started with, he's right there. Yeah, right. He started with a small startup, battery charging. Now he's a big part of ABB. And that is because of his ability to do innovations and to actually making it effective and deployable. And ABB can see how that valuable to their big corporation. So I think it's important you think about how small ones can do it is trying to do that open innovation, open venture capital. I think we have 5 minutes left.
I know, I understand it is very nice fire out here, but lunch is getting cold. So
I'm waiting to go for lunch. Anybody? Wrap it up. Okay. All right. So we'll go out for lunch. I think it's waiting for us. Where is it?
lunch is here. Organize Shiva.
Okay, go ahead.
Unless you want to fill.
Oh, yeah, well done. Thank you so much. Thanks. I hope we are able to address all your questions and we can continue the conversation offline. Thank you so much.
Thank you for this interesting panel, and we would like you to ask to stay in the stage for a group photo.